Thank you very much. Hey, great to see everybody this afternoon. Hopefully ATA is going well so far. Quick intros as we get started. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Sam Todd. Go by Lurch. I'm up at A1KB. Recently, this past summer, I redeployed from 1 year command opportunity over in LUD with the 816th, flying the C-17s, which was a great time, and got here to Scott this summer. We have Major Jeff Goldsmith, C-17 background as well, has a tour through TACC. Then he broke out, went over to Fort Leavenworth, did some school with the Army at CGSC, now is back at Scott as well in AMCA 1 KO. Also in KO, Captain Marlo Peliquin, KC-135 driver, and then she PCS from Kadena this past summer. Part of our Torch program is in A1 KO as well. So we're a few months into our time in the A1 shop. We're getting immersed into personnel programs and some developmental programs. But we certainly have some recency being out there in the wings, conducting the mission, doing what it takes to get the job done. And so we're learning and we're trying to make good recommendations and put the plan in motion for us to get developed officers to the next level where we want them to be as officers, leaders, commanders, etc. But we also have a good pulse on what you guys are going through, what you're concerned with. We want to keep that discussion going, that dialogue open, and to be able to communicate freely with you guys. So that's one of our requests as well. I'll start off with two key messages as we begin. First of all, the handful of months that we've been here, we've had a chance to get in tune with what our commanders, our senior leaders, what they see their vision and how they want to shape our force and develop us as rated MAF officers. The overarching message is they do care. We know that we are asking a lot of you. We know the demand signal is high, and it's not going anywhere. We've heard that communicated over and over so far this morning and with this convention. So that's acknowledged, that is seen. But behind that acknowledgement is also the fact that they care. They care about you personally. They care about the individuals. They care about the families, where you're going, what you want to do. So that's the message I want to offer, is we do care. We're trying to put things together in a way that is viable for lots of stakeholders and keep going forward together. Number two key message from this session, we're going to say it's education-based. Right? So knowledge is power. Information is absolutely key, certainly in some career progression and officer development. That absolutely holds true. So take some notes. If it's a reminder for you, great. We'll get it to the front of our minds together. If it gives you some message to carry back to your units, inform those that you're working with, develop the next generation, the next level, that's what we're looking for as well. So education is absolutely critical, and we ask you to kind of keep that in the back of your mind as we go. All right, so we'll get started. The overview of what we have, quick disclaimer. This is focused on rated MAF officers, right? 11 mic, 12 mics. That's the target audience. All other core career fields and core AFSCs are welcome to attend. There's going to be some thematic things that are consistent, but again, some of our programs are aimed at the rated folks, and that's for the reason of AMC, the A3 specifically. He is our MAF DT. Other AFSCs have their functionals conduct their DT, their developmental teams, to find their progression, to see their advanced opportunities, and they take care of that at the half level, at the functional level. We do that with our development team here out of AMC, so that's why we're kind of focused on the rated officers in this brief. We'll go through what the development is, kind of some philosophies, quick doctrine look. We'll go through some opportunities that we have out there. We'll go through some roles and responsibilities of who we are, and then we'll try to jump towards the end and get some Q&A knocked out as well. So right out of AFDD 1-1, the philosophy and then the doctrine of what we're doing. We want to leverage education, training, experiences to produce and generate airmen who are capable to be creative, adaptable, and knowledgeable leaders. So they're problem solvers. They can communicate well, and they can give that recommendation to our senior leaders in a timely fashion for them to make pertinent decisions. So that's what we want to do. We then take General Everhart's marching orders, his vision, and then we kind of focus in on that, which is not just check the box, not kind of chase their own tails, but deliberately identify those officers with the highest potential, challenge them, assess them, and give them that next challenge to tackle to, again, get that return on investment, get that broadened experience, and expand our toolkits as we progress down this track together. So that's the philosophy, that's the idea behind it as we frame out our force development. All right, so our roles, pretty straightforward. Execute General Everhart's commander's intent when it comes to force development. So again, we're taking his focus, applying that down and communicating that out to the masses, and then trying to support him in an administrative way as well. So that's who we are as a role. We're going to assist the MAF DT, provide background information, give some assessments, try to put that puzzle together to see what fits our communities as a whole, balance ourselves as we go forward together. The MAF Officer Development programs, primarily we're going to talk about Phoenix Horizon opportunities. We conduct those, we look at the boards, and we select those individuals to be contributors in those programs. Phoenix Eagle, right, so the squadron commander placement process, we facilitate that, we arbitrate that, we communicate that to the senior leaders, to the decision makers, as well as the candidates who are applying to that program to see what that opportunity looks like to get through that command screening at the squadron level and then continue to do good things for us. The RSAT program, again, we're expanding our experiences, we're trying to get new tool sets, problem-solving abilities at the staff level, but we have to do that in a responsible way so we can still keep the wings filled and all that stuff. So we try to manage that program that the chief signs, and then we go execute that and support the A3 as they do that. Education, this type of forum, road shows, orientations, all those things that we're trying to do to offer information to the masses and get it down to the unit level. So we're making informed decisions. We have the information in a timely, relevant manner. So we're not closing doors that we don't intend to, and we say to ourselves, I wish I knew that a year ago or 2 years ago. So trying to get the information down to the lowest levels to make good decisions. All right, so how are we kind of conducted and how do we sort out between the different branches? Starting off with A1 KO, Goldsmith, and Marlowe Peliquin. They're taking CGOs and young FGOs and putting them through broadening opportunities, development opportunities, some education, and then getting to 05 promotion. They'll look at some of those details in the following slides, but that's kind of the handoff once their lieutenant colonel selects, and then it comes over to A1KB. A1KB takes them in thematically, we're doing the same thing. Education, development opportunities, make sure their experience, background is going to be effective to get us to that next level with the highest potential. Oh, by the way, certainly squadron commander is one of those thresholds that we're looking to reach and meet and accomplish for us to be able to contribute to that next level. The next level gets selected and promoted to 06. Then we're going to hand off to Scott Wiederholt and the A1L, the colonel's group at AMC, for them to match and assign and progress the force at that point. So that's just the general breakdown. We're not in stovepipes. We do know what's going on to our left and right. We talk absolutely daily. Almost every conversation is a multi-sourced conversation, so we have awareness of what's going on beside us. So comprehensively, we go forward and have a good game plan as far as going through our officer development time. All right, so this hasn't changed. We've seen this before. This is our overall timeline for development, taking us from our first assignment all the way through year 20, 22, something like that. And again, it's going to be littered with age-appropriate, rank-appropriate education. We're doing PME. We're having leadership development opportunities. We're expanding our horizons with group, wing positions, above wing level positions, all that to develop ourselves as problem solvers, leaders, and commanders, as the case may be. As we start off on the left, we have about 3,200 rated MAF officers across AMC. And as we go through time, we're going to attrit and we're going to have different choices being made. And at the end, our goal is to expand the bench, have a robust lineup of folks that can get to 06 level, be commanders at the 06 level, and be a high-performing, high-potential, capable bench for our senior officers to continue to select and match and make sure we're taking care of our force effectively in the MAF. So that's the setup that we're going to go through. We'll break it up into thirds for this brief. So the first 6 years, the middle 6, and then the last 6, we'll kind of do some handoffs with the folks that I introduced briefly earlier. So with that, we'll go over to Captain Marlowe Peliquin for the first 6 years.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for the handoff, sir. Happy to be here to talk force development with you all, spread the good word there. So I'm going to cover the first kind of 6 years of a CGO's career. I realize that probably most of you in the crowd, right, are kind of beyond that point in your careers. But what's really important is that you guys be good stewards of the message that we're trying to convey to you and take that back to your wings and really communicate that, because we're only 3 people trying to do a very big job for the MAF. And that really contributes to our overall goal of creating MAF leaders at the 06 and GO levels. For the first 3 years of an officer's career, right, especially in the rated world, the goal is for folks to be focused on becoming experts in the aircraft. So that should be their focal point. Pretty simple, right? Then beyond that, 3 to 6 years, we're really looking for folks to be focused on becoming aircraft commanders, pushing for those IP upgrades. Sprinkle in SOS attendance and performance there, and you should be set up pretty well to compete for developmental programs. So key points, if you haven't already picked up on it, become an expert in your MWS. Performance. Daily flying, getting that proficiency, working towards upgrades, being aggressive about that. Immersing yourself in your squadron duties and capturing folks' attention at that level. And then also performance at SOS. SOS, right, that's a great kind of first opportunity for officers to really distinguish themselves outside of their wing, where their reputation is already established. That is a format where they can have performance, and that's kind of an early indicator for folks that they, might be one of those leaders at the 06 or GO level. Instructor pilot, or NAV for that matter, really is kind of the first ticket to opening those broadening opportunities at the group and wing levels, and then also some of the developmental programs, which I'll hit on as we continue. So kind of the first developmental program I'll hit on is weapons school. This is a great opportunity for folks to develop both depth and breadth. You become an expert instructor in MWS employment and also become a tactical and operational level planner and also really hit on the integration piece, right? Those folks are kind of known to be the experts in those domains. You can see that across the AMC platforms that we have, most of them anyway, there are opportunities to attend the weapons school. However, eligibility definitely does differ by MWS, so it's really important to dig into the PSDM that is published because it's got a ton of literature to describe the different requirements required. So it's incumbent upon the folks applying to really be familiar with that. Some of the basics, however, you need to receive a wing commander nomination, be an MWS IP with greater than 50 hours, and then no greater than 9 years of commissioned service by the time that the course starts. Next opportunity we'll speak to is high flight. So it's just an opportunity for folks to get caught up on current issues that are impacting air mobility at a particular phase of time. We've gone kind of back and forth over the years between via VTC and in-person. So we're back to the in-person format. It's offered one time per year, and it'll be next May will be the next opportunity. Open to all AFSCs, 4 to 8 year captains, active duty reserve, and guard are welcome. Next, kind of the bread and butter of A1KO, right, is the Phoenix Horizon program. So underneath the umbrella of Phoenix Horizon, we have mobility, reach, and torch program. Hit the slide there, sorry about that. And so the overall goal of that program is to develop mobility leaders with competencies in all of our core mobility missions. So that expands our air mobility footprint and also increases the marketability of those officers to expand beyond AMC, right, into the DoD, HAF, and programs such as that. We just, this past Monday, released our call for nominations for this next cycle of the Phoenix Horizon program. So please spread the word to go onto MyPERS, check out the details associated with that, or shoot us an email if you need any more continuity on that. The packages are going to be due to us 7 December, and then the board will be held in mid-January. So continuing to describe Phoenix Horizon, we'll talk about Phoenix Reach first. So this is a crossflow opportunity. Typically, we're going to do airlift to tanker or tanker to airlift. There's very limited intra-crossflow opportunities because, right, that doesn't meet the intent of the program. Eligibility for this program and for the rest that I speak to will be the same, except for the AFSCs, which I'll touch on. So 4 to 8 year captains. Specifically for this next cycle, it'll be the 09 to 13 year groups. Must be a rated 11 mic with IP experience in a MAF, ATC, or OSA platform. 2 years time on station is going to be the requirement for this particular cycle by 31 July of 17, and you must receive an AFPC functional release. Phoenix Mobility. This is really an opportunity for folks to develop specific skills in the contingency response and en route mobility structure skill set. The folks that we choose for this program will be placed in the CRWs, AMAUs, and AOCs across the Air Force. Again, eligibility requirements the same, except for it will apply to all non-rated folks, and then on the rated side of the house, it'll be 11 mics and 12 mics. Phoenix Torch, so the program that I'm a part of, is an opportunity for folks to broaden and gain kind of that enterprise perspective. They come to staff from the operational environment and really kind of focus on gaining staff competencies and then get a sneak peek into senior leader decision making. So the intent is for folks to come for 2 years. Sometimes we have different situations, but it's an opportunity for folks to participate on different staffs available at Scott, AMC, 18th Air Force, or TACC. So the first year, someone might work, an A1KO like myself, and then the next year go work on the AOC floor. Eligibility requirements differ in this program only by the non-rated aspect. We allow 21 alphas and Romeos only. So that kind of covers the Phoenix Horizon program. And lastly, kind of what I'll touch on is there's a ton of different broadening opportunities, well beyond what I already spoke to. So I really encourage you guys as the leaders and the mentors of the folks that these programs are meant for to head up MIPERS, go to the Developmental Education and Special Programs Guide, and that's really going to go in depth on different programs that are available and the different eligibility requirements for those programs. So the bottom line I'll just leave you with before I pass it off is make sure you are communicating to the leadership of your folks and really communicating the desires that a particular officer has so that at the squadron level, those leaders can engage and really help us develop folks on purpose. So I'll leave you with that, and next, Major Goldsmith is going to talk to you about the mid-level captain through squadron commander phase of the officer's career. Thank you.
Am I on? Great. Thanks, Marlo. Appreciate it. Hey, thanks. Major Goldsmith, A1KO Chief. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you. So as Marlo said, we talked about the first phase in the career where we're working on building tactical leaders. From here in this next phase, the middle third, if you will, from just prior to major up through lieutenant colonel and kind of right up to squadron commander where I'll hand it off, we're transitioning to operational, strategic, and in some cases policy level thinkers and leaders. That's the type of officer we're trying to build. As Colonel Todd set up in the very beginning, the goal is peeling that onion back all the way from 06 and beyond, and then figuring out how we build from the very beginning on up. So now we're in that middle section. So just prior to, most of our development programs centered at the MAF, at AMC rather, most of them are geared towards CGOs. This is where we get into the staff opportunities. Staff in itself is a broadening opportunity. While it may not be boarded per se, it is certainly development. We get into the IDE time frame, developmental education, and then again beyond 05 into SDE. So these are all things we're looking at. I kind of said the transition here, we're going to look at promotion to major. I'll try not to get too deep into it, although I do have a couple slides on that promotion and IDE process. The big takeaway for those slides, so that I can get through them quickly, is this. We don't want any officer to find themselves at their PRF for major or 05 and find that there was something they wish they knew 5 years ago. So as commanders, mentors, we get with those young officers early, find out what their 5, 10, 15-year plan is so that we can start early, make sure they've got our contact, we can start getting the message out, we can start building plans if that officer or if you as commanders and mentors need help kind of building what that timeline should look. But again, the goal is so that nobody wishes they knew something 5 years prior. All right, so why do I throw an eye chart up? Just to advertise that this is out there. This is a product that's AFPC produces. It's hung on MIPERS. They have these by grade, so this is the data rank to captain chart. What you have highlighted here is for calendar year 17, the 3-year groups that will be eligible, that will meet an 05 board, whether it be BPZ or in the promotion zone. And then we have, unique for calendar year 17, we have the 2 majors boards where we're going to get caught up from when we kind of delayed one a few years back. So 17 Bravo and 17 Delta will meet in March and December respectively. That'll be for the 08 and 09 commissioning year groups. So the previous slide was the product that AFPC produces and is hung on MyPERS. This is the MLR schedule that A1KP, AMC A1 Promotions produces. This is on their portal site. I encourage you to dig into that and make sure folks know what the timeline is. As we kind of walk this through, the important thing to note is the accounting date. That's the circle in the top left there. And just by example, we've looked at that 0417 Bravo board that'll happen in March. That's for the line of the Air Force officers. Make sure young folks, those junior officers, well before they're ever eligible, understand an accounting date. Know that wherever you are on paper on that date is where your PRF will be written. So it's important to have those conversations about making sure we don't put somebody where they are a new face, a new small fish in a big pond. They aren't known, they don't have a reputation. If that can be avoided, that certainly would be one of our goals, to make sure that each individual has the strongest opportunity when they hit one of those promotion boards. The next slide will carry out the promotion timeline. And this kind of gets to that, just knowing how the process works and knowing what's ahead. We talked about the counting date, 150 days prior to the board actual meeting. The next date I'll draw your attention to is that minus 60 earliest PRFs can be signed. That's when your senior raters, wing commanders are signing those PRFs and pushing them to the MAGCOM or the next higher level. For anybody who's new to PRFs, just realize there might be, if you look at a date and know when your board meets, it might be the idea that, hey, I've got time to get this PRF all worked out and everything. And as for those of us who've been through the process, we know actually that PRF is due and we're working on it well ahead of time because it leaves the wing far in advance of the actual board. Once the board meets, it goes through the wickets of approval from SECGAF through the JCS, DOD. For captains, we end with sign-off at the White House. For FGO grades and above, it goes through the Senate. So just sit down with your young folks and make sure they understand this process so that it's not a surprise when it comes time. So the feedback we've gotten from the boards and from our own DT is they have scored records, is the consistent, meaningful stratification is paramount. Push for flight commander DO, those leadership opportunities. None of this should really be a surprise. Those top performers, Captain Peliquin hit on it already as well. Those distinguished graduates, those are by no means, we know this for a fact, they are not golden tickets to future opportunities, but they are indicators, strong indicators of performance against peers in certain pools. So promotion boards definitely look at those. And then finally, that bottom bullet, top OPR and PRF are critical, but doesn't compensate for an otherwise weak record. I can't stress that enough. We just went through, my most recent experience was sitting through the 2016 Phoenix Eagle Board, and I cannot tell you how many times that came up. You know, having a strong PRF or a strong Form 77 and a strong top OPR is great. However, it doesn't mask a weak record. So we need consistent, meaningful performance all the way throughout an officer's career. So IDE, many of you know that the rules just changed a little bit on the IDE process. Just realize we are already fielding questions about that. We have some of our own. A1 got it about a day prior than everybody else as that policy got released, so we'll do our best to answer any questions you have. The bottom line is once the selections come out, it's been broken up into a two-phase process. Phase one, officers are notified if they are a primary or an alternate. At that point, they can decline without prejudice, which is a change from previous policy. This is a retention effort. We want folks who have just decided they want to take a different branch in their career, that's okay. They can decline. If they were a select, they will lose that select status and compete in subsequent years as a candidate if they so choose. So that's phase one. If you stick with it and until the actual matches come out, at that point it becomes an assignment action, and then the only option to get out of IDE at that point is a 7-day out because it is an assignment action at that point. So that's about what we know. If you have questions, we'll do our best to field them, or we'll just take them back. Big picture IDE, two categories, select and candidate. We nominate via the 3849 process. For IDE, you have 3 chances to apply. For SDE, 4. Senior raters may nominate 100% of their selects and 20% of their candidates. Doesn't mean they have to or will, but that's just what's allowed. So this is one thing that I know I didn't understand really fully as a captain, or until recently really, so I want to make sure we get this out. School selection is a 3-step process. It starts with a central selection board. Big Air Force meets, all AFSC, represented by all AFSCs. They score all the records. We come up with a master Air Force 1 to N list. Then the functional developmental teams step into the process. They kind of pull out all of their officers. So the MAF DT will pull out all of the 11, 12 mics that have been racked and stacked in that list, and then they will begin to give vectors. 3 choices for developmental education for each of the officers, each of the MAF officers that is in that list. Then that list goes back to the Air Force list, and the DEDB, the Developmental Education Designation Board, will finally match officers to specific programs, hopefully using the DT's vectors as a roadmap of where to place folks. Allocation target, this doesn't paint the whole picture. The 70-30 is actually for SDE. This year for IDE, it was 60% of the pool should have been selects and 40% should have been candidates. As we all know, General Welsh changed the policy. Now method of DE will not show on a promotion board, just blank, select, or complete. So complete by correspondence, if not a select. That's a must. To see the full range of IDE opportunities, MyPERS, Force Development, and then we can get into the program description guide. Currently, the 2016 guide is still active and hung on the portal, but shortly the 2017 guide will come out. So sit down with folks, make sure that everybody in your wing that is in this window knows that this is out there. Get in and look at all the many numerous programs that are out there. All right, so I'm going to try to touch real quickly on rated staff, and we're going to get into it in one of the seminars tomorrow, too, during the pilot shortage seminar. But as I said, staff in itself is a developmental opportunity. So we take the vectors that the assignment officers at AFPC take the vectors that are given by the functional DT and use that to help place officers into staff. Vectors, JCS, Joint, HAF, MAGCOM, needs of the Air Force. The current policy from the A3 from the MAF DT is that the assignment officers can, on their own, match our officers one up, one down from their designated vector. So example, if an officer has a HAF vector, the assignment officers can give him a joint other assignment or a MAGCOM assignment on their own authority. If they want to match an officer more than one up, one down, so i.e. that HAF vectored officer to JCS, then it has to run through the MAF DT for approval. The best way to communicate to the assignment officers your desires is through the ADP. We recommend that as soon as somebody PCSs, they go ahead and get another ADP on file, because just you never know what's going to happen in life, and better to have a current one on file than not, and leave the assignment officers guessing at what you'd like to do. Timing considerations. Okay, what does that mean? Must move in the summer versus spring and fall. We have a lot of must movers in the summer time frame, particularly our squadron commander outplacement at the 05 level and then IDE outplacement at the 04 level. This is a huge move to staff. So if we have folks that are not in one of those pools, their best chance to get to staff is actually going to be in one of the other cycles, so spring and fall. So again, timing matters. We need to be aware where an officer is, what's already in their record, where they have the best chance to land, and then there is some timing to consider as we push folks toward those opportunities. Prior performance matters. I can't say that enough. All right, once again, it's kind of a reiteration, but we had it at the CGO level. We have it again at the FGO level. There are a number of opportunities out there. A couple of them are listed here in the slide. Everything from AFBAC hands, those STAR-NOM, CAP-NOM opportunities. All this stuff exists on the MyPERS website. So, let's lead our folks to those resources and make sure they're aware of what's out there. Bottom line, performance. So I said we've moved from tactical experts into operational strategic leaders or thinkers for sure. And all along the way, we need to see performance. That's going to set folks up for those future command opportunities and later higher FGO and beyond promotion opportunities. Set yourself apart. Can't stress that enough. Whether it be through education, performance, all of the above. If we can have folks that look different for somebody, there's probably a good opportunity out there for them. I can tell you very anecdotally, we have somebody that we've been looking at right now who, just because of education on his own accord, fits a very specific skill set at a certain staff assignment. So we are, trying to vector that officer that way because he's made himself look different. There's no golden tickets. We've hit that a couple times, and we'll say it again before we're done here. And performance is key. So with that, we'll move on to Squadron Command or 05 and above. Colonel Todd.
I'll come back up on the mic here. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. So the next section, once again, 05 Select. getting through some key and developmental opportunities. Again, staff experience, quality jobs, quality performance is what's going to be essential for us to see there, and then try to draw out a roadmap to get you back to ops in a leadership position, back to the squadron, whether it's DO, Chief of Safety, squadron command type opportunities, and then continue from there. So thematically, we're looking at the same thing. Take the highest caliber officers and develop them towards the deep bench that we're looking for at the 06 level. Specifically, A1KB, how we're doing this, how do we fit in the whole picture, who we're communicating with, and how we're developing this puzzle. There's a lot of people that have a vote. So a quick depiction here, a lot of senior leaders have their vision, they're mentoring us, they're kind of saying here's the requirements that we see in the future and here's how we're going to posture ourselves to meet that. So they're communicating to us. We're getting assistance and analysis and background information from some other folks in A1, and we're trying to put that puzzle together and offer the best communication and information we can to hire the right folks at the right time to those right positions. So that's what we're trying to do within our roles and responsibilities in A1KB. Specifically for us as development, we're taking the identified high-performing folks, whether they're below the zone officer to 05, whether they're an SDE select at their 05 board, and we're tracking them individually, proactively, and we're getting to know them, what their background is, where they're going in the future, what they're postured for, where they're going to be successful. And as an organization, we're more effective because we're using our people in the right way, in the right construct. One of the tools to do that, certainly just a simple ribbon chart. So we can use that as a mentoring tool throughout our ranks and our capabilities. But for this, it starts our conversation as far as timelines and sequencing and arranging those key and developmental opportunities effectively to not close doors, but the converse of that, to open opportunities for us to the max extent possible. So we're doing that. It's a very interactive part of what we're doing at A1KB, a lot of phone calls, emails, and that's fantastic. So again, I want to emphasize and encourage discussion. Open comms with us is going to make us better at what we're trying to do. Specifically with PE, there's three main considerations that are valued and attractive as the board meets. As they're trying to look at those eligible squadron commanders, we're going to grade and board and come up with a list of who's going to be the most competitive folks to take us to that next level. The main considerations, obviously it starts with officership. It obviously starts with proven, demonstrated performance, as well as that potential opportunity to grow and develop to the next level. So that's the first thing we're looking at. The second thing that's absolutely essential is your credibility. So are you a demonstrated expert operationally? So the warfighting unit of the Air Force is at the squadron level. So for us to place a leader at that squadron level, we need to be convinced that they have the operational credentials to go be effective. You don't have to be stovepiped, meaning your past, absolutely directs what your future opportunities are going to be, but that demonstration of I can be an expert, I can employ effectively, and I know what success looks like at that tactical level. So that's what we're looking for as number two, is that credibility. Number three, certainly whole person concept applies. And so what's your reputation? What's your professional image? What are the people laterally to you and up and down from you? What do they think of you? And then they're trying to assess how you're going to fit on that team. Do you fit that wing's vision? Do you fit that unit? Are you going to be successful for what we need at that squadron level? So that's what's going into the board, specifically the logistics behind it. The applications, we're going to ask for a fitness report, so we see that background. We're going to have a modified CERF, so we see some of that officer detail as far as who you are and what you've been through, some of that duty history type of ideas. We're also going to get your senior raters push through Form 77. So their opportunity to advocate for you, for them to describe your potential, describe where you're going and who you are to their wing. Again, that's going to factor into how the board assesses you and scores you out. Now we're going to take a look at your rope, so your OPERs, your decorations, your training reports, to see what your proven performance is, see how you conduct yourselves on the job. And then we're going to come up with a very competitive list. We're going to make some selections, and we're going to apply some filters to get down to this past year, this past PE 16. We had 154 officers make it, and it was an extremely competitive list, so it's an accomplishment to get to that level. We're then going to communicate and facilitate the hiring process, so the bidding process, the matching process. We're going to balance the needs of our MAF communities. We're going to balance the needs of the individual officers for the development plan, as well as what we're looking like to be successful at the next level. So all that goes into the PE process, and we're going to kind of offer those matches. General Everhart is the final decision authority to approve those, and then we'll source those out and make those assignments happen. Along the way, there's going to be ones and twos that pop up with additional opportunities that we didn't see, and we're going to continue to find and maximize our opportunities to place folks in squadron command. So that's what's going on with the PE process. The next section, a couple things rolled into the MAF DT concept that we offered as key points. So whether it's SDE outplacement, squadron commander outplacement, some other triggers that are going to get us to the MAF DT point where we're giving you a vector. This is the ability, again, for our senior leaders to know you guys at an individual level and assess ourselves as a corporate group and your peer group as far as the audience that you're being that MAF DT vector within. We're going to have two forms of communication and feedback that come from that. One goes directly to AFPC with a prioritized list of here's our high-end performers, and we think this is the priority placements that we want you to find opportunities for them to develop on the next step. The other form of feedback goes back to the individual member themselves with an idea of where they fall with a JCS vector or joint other or MAGCOM, whatever it might be. And again, that gives you an opportunity to see how you were assessed relative to that peer group that you were kind of scored against. So that's what the MAF DT is doing, kind of laying that groundwork of future plans as well as providing feedback to the individuals. All right, so to close out, our key takeaways, again, I'm going to foot stomp. There's two main ingredients to officer development. The first one is absolutely performance. You got to hit the ball hard where you're at, do great work, be a performer where you're at. And then the second thing, you have to be proactive, you have to be interested, you have to desire to make yourself better, right? So you have to be informed, you have to be educated, you have to make the team around you better. And again, those are the ways that we're going to develop ourselves as officers. Last point on the slide here is, again, we want to be your advocates, we want to communicate with you. So we understand what's concerning you, we understand what's pressing on your minds, as well as us being able to recommend solutions both at the wing level and above as far as staff advocates. So that's who we are, and that's kind of what we want to present for you today.